Welcome. So glad you guys are here. My name is Terry Maxwell, and we're going to be talking today about what I call pure confidence. I consider myself a student of fear. And as a result of that, I've become a student of confidence. And how do you find that type of champion confidence that's actually in all of us? How do you tap into that? How do you do like that great athlete that overcomes their fear and their fear of failure and their fear of success? How do you really tap into that to reach the goals that you have? And that's really where this body of work called Pure Confidence came from. Also, if you don't know anything about Shiftco, we do lots of free events with Shiftco. This is one of them. It allows you to meet our community. It allows you to meet master teachers and coaches in the Shift community. You're welcome to attend as many of these as you'd like, and we certainly would love for you to join us, but take advantage of everything that we offer. Our next event is on November 30th. It's called Lunch and Leap. I highly recommend it because it's designed to give you instant strategies that you can put in place in your business to get your business to leap forward. Also, if you're in the DFW area, we have a live event called Gather and Grow. That's on December 6th. And we've got a couple of master teachers at that. There's a cost for that one because of the facility and the food and all of that type of stuff. But feel free to join us for any of these events. There'll be another event that's scheduled in December, which is around prosperity and creating a prosperity mindset. So feel free to check that out as well. If you don't know me, I have got the claim to fame is I created a purposeful Shark Tank, in essence, called Share on Purpose. And I cultivate new concepts. Shiftco is one of those. And those new concepts are businesses that all make the world better in some way. And then in addition to that, I also have a speculator fund, which invests in purposeful ideas. An example of one of those is a product called Your Izzy. It's the first 100% zero waste makeup and skincare line in the world. That's an example of the speculator. On the cultivator side, Succeed on Purpose was our first concept, then Ignite on Purpose, and then Promote on Purpose, and then Talent on Purpose, and now Shiftco is our fifth concept. So through some of the methods that we teach in Shiftco, and in particular, the one that you're sitting in on today, Pure Confidence, which is actually a methodology, I've been fortunate enough to create this portfolio of purpose-driven brands and cultivate these really cool concepts. Now, to do that, I actually had to grow, change, evolve the inner part of me, because I believe our business grows as we evolve. And so my evolution in confidence is I actually started my career as a classroom teacher, and I was going to save the kids and save the world. And so I clearly have that champion inside of me. I left the classroom and went to a company called Jostens Learning, which was an educational software company. That's where I found I had this natural gift for businesses that I never knew I had. And then I worked my way up, pivoted a few times, and became president of an internet subsidiary called FlashNet. The parent company was FlashNet Communications. I led their largest subsidiary. I led that all the way to, we took the company public on the NASDAQ stock exchange. So great career, amazing. And then I started my own concept, Lattimark, and it was in between FlashNet and Lattimark that I really realized that I had this massive confidence issue. And it was massive because I was relying on my career success to tell me that I was good enough. So think about that for a second. I was relying on my career success to tell me that I was good enough. And that was my first big awakening, is that we tend to use our career, our family to validate our worth, when in reality, that's an inner game. And what allowed me to go from Flash then and being president of this company that did an IPO on the NASDAQ stock exchange, to then that company being acquired and being out of a job, to then starting my first company in 2002, was a commitment. And it really was a commitment to the inner work, that I am going to find my value, live my value, expect to be valued. No matter what happens externally, it's going to be an inside game. And that's what really led to this body of work that I'm going to walk you through today. We're going to talk about the 4 types of confidence. That's what pure confidence is made of, is understanding there's not just one type of confidence, there's 4. Second is, how do you get out of your comfort zone and keep yourself in a healthy way out of your comfort zone? Then we're going to look at the pure confidence framework, which is a specific framework to identify where your confidence breaks are. Then we'll look at the model for confidence, and then we'll talk a little bit about how we use this to help our members grow unbelievably successful businesses. So we'll start first with the 4 types of confidence. And I'll stop periodically and ask to see if there's questions. You can also put them in the chat. So when I first had this awareness in 2000, 2001, I'm older than I look, that I didn't have the inner confidence, that's when I began to become a student of confidence. And I started studying people who I thought were confident. And the first thing that I found is that from a behavioral standpoint, there's 2 types of confidence. Those are the ones in orange. Developmental is, I'm confident that I can learn anything. So I really struggled with developmental confidence. Anytime I go to learn something new or do something new, I'm in panic mode because I have weak developmental confidence. I have lots of voices in my head about, I can't, I don't know how. It's even as simple as learning how to play golf. I am super resistant to learning how to play golf because every time I go to swing the golf club, I, hack away, and I have this block related to fear of failure and that type of stuff. So that's developmental confidence. The second type of confidence is performance confidence. Performance confidence is, I know once I learn how to do something a little bit, I can become great at it. Now, world-class athletes have developmental confidence and pure performance confidence really strong. They're willing to learn something new, and they know that they can become great at it if they just work on the skills. So those orange parts are behavioral in nature. Where confidence, though, is really built is in the purple part. In the purple part, emotional confidence is one of the biggest barriers to people achieving what they want. Emotional confidence is, I recognize that I'm feeling something, i.e. fear, anxiety, doubt. I recognize that I'm feeling it, but I know how to move forward anyway. Let me say that again. Emotional confidence is, I recognize that I'm feeling fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and I'm able to move forward anyway. So emotional confidence is really not allowing your fears and inhibitions to stop you, because you can move through them. And then soulful confidence is this sense that the world is here for me, not happening to me. And so soulful confidence is trusting that it's all going to work out, trusting that my intuition is strong. It's one of the reasons why we do a lot of free events around intuition, is because of this area. It's just trusting whatever you believe that higher force to be, that there's a higher force towards good. And I want to get in alignment with that. So these 4 types of confidence, you develop them differently. So developmental and performance confidence are actually the easiest to work on, ironically. But where the real work is in emotional confidence. It's learning how to manage your fear, how to harness your fear, And to really understand what that fear and anxiety and whatever it is, to understand what it's teaching you, what it's showing you, so that you can move forward anyway. What I found in my research, and I've been studying this for about 15 years now, is that if you can work on emotional confidence, the other three change. They change very quickly. If you just work on the orange ones, which are more behavioral, physical in nature, I just want to learn how to do this, and you don't work on emotional confidence, you'll grow, but not grow as fast. So if we want to speed up our ability to become more confident and more powerful, the real work is in that emotional confidence area. So let's kind of put it into context. So the 4 types of confidence. Developmental is, I need to learn marketing and demand generation. So if you know anything about building a business, you have to become good at demand generation, growing your business, getting leads, getting people interested in your business. So there's a way to learn how to do that. And by the way, there's lots of free training on Shiftco's website and on our YouTube page. If that's an area you want to focus on, check it out. So developmental confidence is, I got to learn how to do this. I got to learn how to generate demand for my business so people want to buy from me. Now, the first time you go to do that, you're going to feel afraid. The first class you take, if you're in Shiftco, the first coaching group cohort you're in, you're going to feel fear, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. But if you push through that fear, i.e. emotional confidence, you'll pick it up, and you'll pick it up quickly if you push through the fear. So developmental confidence is, I'm learning something new, like demand generation. Performance confidence is, I'm improving my business differentiation, which means to be different in a way that matters to your buyer. So that means I've already learned how to do it. Now I'm going to really excel at it. I'm going to make it so that anybody that comes to learn about my business, that is my target market, that they say yes. That's what improving differentiation is. So that's an example of those two. Emotional confidence is, I'm feeling anxious. This is scary, this building a business thing. What was I thinking? I know why I'm feeling anxious, but I am going to change my emotional state and move forward anyway. So you can see why emotional confidence as an entrepreneur, it's your power tool, man. It's your guru, is emotional confidence. Because if you can develop emotional confidence where you feel fear, you know why you're feeling fear, and you move forward anyway, and you change your emotional state, you can learn anything about building a business. Building a business is hard, but it's only hard because we're afraid most of the time, and myself included. I got lots of fears. I've got lots of not good enoughs and self-worth issues. So that's why emotional confidence is such a power tool, is you can face anything in any business of any size if you develop the emotional resiliency to recognize what you're feeling, to know why you're feeling it, and to shift that state. Soulful confidence is trusting that even the most difficult parts of being an entrepreneur will lead you to positive outcomes. And if that resonates with you, that's something you can really tap in and harness, and you're still going to have to really build emotional confidence. I really do believe today, in this world that is so uncertain, that it is virtually near almost impossible to build a thriving business if you don't work on that emotional confidence area. Because the other things are just things you have to learn and things you have to get better at. But that inner state is really the key. And that's what we're going to be working on today. Now, I've also found that if your soulful confidence can grow, these two tend to be connected, that as you become better at managing and developing that emotional confidence, as you become stronger, your soulful confidence also improves as well. They kind of move in tandem. And so today I'm going to give you some very specific strategies on how to grow emotional confidence so that you can tackle whatever you need to tackle in your business. The first tool I'm going to give you, I did not come up with this tool. The other ones I did, but this one I did not come up with. But when I saw it, it was one of those, oh my God, that is so right. And I have not been able to track down the author of this particular one. But what it is it's looking at the 4 zones, and you could call these confidence zones, And the first one is the comfort zone. So we'll put that up here. So the comfort zone is where we feel safe and everything is wonderful and I can control it. And if you become an entrepreneur, and I'm sure all of you are here today because you became an entrepreneur and then you're thinking, what am I thinking? What was I doing? It's because entrepreneurship constantly keeps you outside of your comfort zone. A job where you get paid every couple of weeks, you know what your check's going to be, you hope you get a raise, you got your 401k, you got your benefits, that's comfort zone. When you start a business, you are catapulted into the fear zone. And that's where the lack of self-confidence really shows up. That's where you're affected by other people's opinions. Oh, I don't want to be rejected. I think that's what my first trip into entrepreneurship, that right there, being afraid of rejection was probably the number one thing that held me back. And I struggled a lot. My first 2 years in business, 2002 and 2003 was horrible. And most of it was because of all this thought that I had in my head about rejection. I don't want to sell to people, yada, yada, yada. So we find excuses. So the key is and what emotional confidence really does is it moves you into the learning zone. And the learning zone is where you face those things head on. You know what? I don't have confidence and I'm looking at that thing. I'm going to own it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to learn about it. And you develop new skills, which you're going to have today. And by the way, you'll have a recording of this so that you can, take some of these things we're talking about. And the acquiring of new skills in the area of confidence, in the area of marketing, in the aware of your business model, in the aware of differentiation, any of those areas are going to make you feel afraid. But if you'll just recognize, I feel afraid and I'm moving forward anyway, and you learn the new skill, you'll find before you know it, you're not afraid anymore. Let me say that again. If you can just recognize that I'm in the fear zone and I simply am moving into the learning zone, I know what I need to learn, I'm going to learn it. And by the sheer force of taking the step to move forward out of the fear zone into the learning zone, the fear will dissipate rapidly. And then the beautiful thing is, if you look at the colors here, when you get good at recognizing you're in the fear zone and moving into the learning zone, what happens is your comfort zone gets larger and it gets larger fast. And now all of a sudden, you're more comfortable with fear and fear doesn't paralyze you anymore. And then that's when you get the opportunity to move into the growth zone. And the growth zone is where you maximize your prosperity, you maximize your impact, you maximize the value that you're providing, and you can create anything that you want by moving into that growth zone. Now you're conquering your objectives, you're setting new goals, you're going to the next level, but it requires getting and staying out of the comfort zone, moving through the fear zone and into the learning zone. And the quicker you do that, the easier it is. Once you're in the learning zone and you start building some new neural pathways, you start building some ways to access the parasympathetic nervous system, which I'll talk about in a minute. Then you go into the growth zone. And then, today I can face a fear, move through the fear, and maybe have a little bit of resistance, but it's because my neural pathways in my mind and my parasympathetic nervous system, I've trained my body and my mind to move through the fear zone into the learning zone and into the growth zone. So that's tool number one. It's powerful. Again, I did not create this particular one, have not found the author yet, but it's brilliant. The second tool, which I did create, I spent about 11 years researching fear. And what I found is we have levels of awareness. Let me just take a quick sip of water. We have levels of awareness related to fear. And that point alone blew my mind. Is that I'm not always aware that I'm afraid. So on the conscious level, I know that I'm afraid. I'm afraid of judgment, and I'm very conscious of that. And it pushes my buttons. So I'm consciously aware of it. That's not where most of the challenges related to fear is not at the conscious level, because if it's at the conscious level, you know what to do about it. Most of the issues are at the subconscious level because that's where our emotions and our thoughts really hide out. And that top line and those two black lines that you see is where the ego tends to want to keep us. It wants to hide our thoughts, negative thoughts, and our fears. It hides them from us. And the ego does it to protect us, but it's not very helpful if you think about it. So a lot of times we have fear at the subconscious level and we're not aware that it's there. And only when we get poked, where something really pushes our buttons and we stop and we're like, why am I feeling all this anxiety all of a sudden? Then all of a sudden it becomes conscious. And so with the thoughts and the emotions living at the subconscious level, then what it's doing constantly is there's like this drag of fear and anxiety that's pulling at us constantly. Thoughts of, I can't, I don't know how, what if down, what if this happened, what if that happened? Oh, a client reached out to me, I'm in trouble. And it just pulls us down energetically. And then at the unconscious level, that's where what I call barriers are. And barriers are repeated beliefs that are blocking our success. Those are at the unconscious level. So this research led me to a methodology from Iyanla Van Zandt. And I adapted this for what I call the pure confidence framework. It's how do you actually move through subconscious and unconscious barriers? So it starts with basement. So in the basement, nothing's wrong and it's everybody else. So if you find yourself blaming other people, that's basement thinking. The first floor is where the magic begins. Hey, something's going on with me. This is about me, but I don't know what it is. And I was, when I was building this framework and doing this research, that's where I was. I'd moved from the basement to the first floor and I recognized, hey, the pattern is you, Terry. You're recreating this pattern again and again. It's showing up again and again. That's you, but I didn't know what it was. So I needed a way to identify what my barriers and fears were, which I'm going to give you this framework. There's 14 of them. So you can identify which one is the one for you to work on. And then the second floor is where the work is. So the first floor is the magic, and that's calling that barrier out of the shadows. Oh, I've got fear of failure, calling it forward and saying, you know what, I need to face this fear of failure. So that's the magic, is the identification. Ironically, when you identify it, that's typically when the breakthrough is imminent, because you call it out of the shadows, you call it up from the subconscious mind into the conscious mind. And now you get at the second floor where, hey, something's wrong with me. I know what it is. I've got fear of failure, but I don't know what to do about it. That's the work. But the beautiful thing about that is once you know what it is, and you're not just dealing with symptoms, it's way easier to address. And then the third floor, where I love to live, is, hey, something's wrong with me. I know I've got fear of failure. I know what it is, and I know what to do about it. I've developed the tools. Boom, you're in the growth zone. So this is where I'm putting those two methods together. So that's where we want to be. And that's where you become resilient, and something can happen, you know what to do. Something can happen, you know what to do. And you're no longer held hostage by your fear. And so what I want to give you are these 14 fears that I identified, which are going to help you with the magic, which is the first floor of, I'm going to identify the barrier patterns that are slowing me down. And then I'm going to get to work at doing something about them so that they don't slow me down anymore. And it's kind of like Eye of the Tiger, you know, where you're going to look at that thing that's been scaring you and you're like, no more. I'm going to do this. No more. You're going to hold me back. I am going to break through this fear. It's also where peace is at that level, where the vast majority of my life, I'm in a peaceful state because I know what my patterns are. I know what to look for. And I just am constantly looking for new tools to heal them. Okay, so what are these fears? What are these barriers? And I call them barriers now because they become bigger than fear. So a barrier is just a repeated fear that's holding you back. And that's why I'm now going to call them a barrier. And this is where we're going to identify them. So this is floor number one, according to Iyanla Van Zandt. We're going to call them out of the shadows. So remember, there's 3 levels: conscious, we're mildly aware of those; subconscious, they're lurking, they're in the shadows. If you think of a iceberg, it's right below the waterline. We can't see it, but we know there's trouble there. And then, of course, the unconscious barriers, which we'll get to in just a minute. Those are the big thorny things that are actually holding us back. So let's deal with the easy ones. So time management. If you pile too much on your plate, you try to do too much, or you're late, or you struggle with time. There's never enough time. You're very inefficient with your time. That's actually something you're aware of, but you might not realize there's something underneath it that creates that. Trust and confidence. I have trouble trusting people, or I struggle with self-confidence. Believe it or not, those two are connected. We could be aware of that. So if you're listening to this program, you're probably aware that you've got something going on with confidence. Perfectionism. If you're a perfectionist, you've probably been told that before. You're probably aware of it. Believe it or not, there's something underneath that. Willingness to act. If you're like, I want to do it, but I want to do it, but I want to do this, but I want, willingness to act is there's resistance and you're not taking the actions that you need to take. And you know you're in resistance, but you're not quite sure what to do about it. And then the 5th one is kind of a catch-all. So fear and addiction. So for me, food is my drug of choice. And I know when I start to eat in an unhealthy way, where I'm snacking on candy at night, or I'm ordering pizza on the weekend, I typically know that that's a sign that something is happening for me and that there's something in the subconscious level. So net, these things at the top are, we're mildly aware that these things are going on. What we're not aware of is what's underneath them. And that's where we're really going to get into going deep here, because we're going to tackle the subconscious barriers that are fears that are just running us, or programs that are running us. And then we're going to get to what I call the core 4, which are the 4 big barriers that are running the whole show that we have to constantly work on. And I'm going to use myself as an example, because I'm very open about my fears and issues and that type of stuff, because I want you to know that in spite of all of the success that I had, I got major self-worth issues and major not good enough issues. And they show up in lots of ways that I'll talk about. So at the subconscious level, the most difficult barrier to treat is self-awareness. Self-awareness is we're not willing to look at our stuff. And it is the one most difficult piece when I see it with ShiftCo members. You know, I almost sometimes go, hey, I'm just going to tell you what I see, and, you know, and you decide, because you're not having self-awareness of what's happening here. It's one of the reasons why I think ShiftCo has been so successful in helping our members grow and scale their business. 85% of our members double their revenue, is because we go after that self-awareness. What are you blocking yourself from seeing? Let's tackle that. The next 2, fear of others, is fear of what other people think, fear of judgment. And if there's a lot of that, and I'm going to talk about how they're connected here in a minute. Need to be right, or afraid to be wrong. You could call it that way as well. Need to control. I'm very much a control. I need to order my world a certain way. And then last is fear of failure. Fear of failure is the number one thing that keeps entrepreneurs from succeeding, is they're afraid to fail. So remember I'm going to go back here for a second because it's super important. Remember this little beautiful growth zone thing. So when you're in fear of failure, you're in the fear zone, but you're not moving through to the other side. And when you're afraid of what other people think, you're stuck in that fear zone. So these subconscious barriers that I'll put back up here, these are typically showing up in the fear zone, and they're causing us to want to go back to the comfort zone. So let me say that again. When these barriers at a subconscious level show up, we're in the fear zone, and it's causing us to want to back up into the comfort zone because it doesn't feel good. And as a result of it, our lives don't get better because we're not moving through these barriers. Okay, everyone take a breath because this is heady stuff. Just breathe with me. Now let's tackle the big four, the core four. What I found in my research is there's actually 4 barriers that are the root of all of the 10 that you see above that. And then if you can tackle one of these unconscious barriers, just one, tackle that one of these unconscious barriers at the bottom, the rest start to move and heal very, very quickly. The first 2 are a little bit harder to see. Fear of success is maybe somebody in your family was super successful, a parent, a sibling, and you felt like you didn't measure up. So now you kind of hold back. Or maybe a parent was super successful and super driven and they weren't available. And you said, for my family, I'm not going to do that. I'm always going to be available to my family. Need to know is I need to know how this is going to work out before I take a step. I need to know I'm going to be successful in order to move forward. And then the 2 that I find in 99.99% of all entrepreneurs, especially conscious entrepreneurs, is not good enough and self-worth. So not good enough is I'm comparing myself to other people. Self-worth is I'm putting people ahead of me, other people's needs, other people's priorities. So these are the 14 barriers, but there's another piece that really matters in this, because I know this is heady stuff. And what matters is they're connected. So what I mean by that is, and that's why if you just deal with one of the ones on the bottom, so if you just tackle one of these on the bottom, you're going to see that the other ones dissipate really quickly. So I'll use myself. So not good enough, massive issues with not good enough. Again, in spite of what I've achieved, it's still there. And how do I know when it shows up is when I feel out of control and I start trying to control things. It's almost always because not good enough. And maybe it's trying to be perfect. I'm trying to get this right. I'm trying to make this partnership work perfectly. And so I'm trying to control it. I'm trying to force it. That's coming from a fear that I'm not good enough. I'm not going to be accepted. So the reason why I like to point this out is in my research, and again, I've been working on this for 15 years, this research, have coached thousands and thousands of people on removing these barriers. If you'll tackle one of the ones at the bottom and map out the others move very, very quickly. They move very quickly, is by tackling one of the ones on the bottom. And by the way, on Succeed on Purpose, which is where this research started, there's a fear quiz. If you're not sure which one is yours, you can take that fear quiz and it will help you identify. It also will give you descriptions of each of these as well. That's on Succeed on Purpose, which is the origination for ShiftCo came from Succeed on Purpose. Okay, so what are some of the things that we can do? Believe it or not, the easiest thing that you can do is to clear that fear out of the way. So we're going to do that with me now. You'll be surprised at how easy this is to do, because what happens is when we feel fear, and right now I probably triggered a lot of fear by putting those list of fears in front of you. It probably is like, oh God, this is too much. I just wanted to come for confidence. Now I'm dealing with all this fear. That's normal, by the way, is when you feel fear in your body, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system and you move into fight or flight. And now it's like, oh, I don't know. And we start wanting to move back into the comfort zone. But it's really, really easy to get that out of the way. And I'm going to give you the technique that I teach and that I use every single day. It's called ABCs of clearing energy. So we're going to do it with me. Put yourself on mute. And it's the A stands for acknowledge. And you just use the prompt. The truth is, I feel, say it out loud. That's why I want you guys to be on mute. The truth is, I feel anxious, afraid, scared, whatever comes up. You don't need to even know what it is. Just say it. What that does is that moves the fear from the subconscious into the conscious. So the truth is, I feel afraid, whatever it is, and just let it be there. You'll notice that your blood pressure comes down just a little bit by simply acknowledging it. So just notice that difference. Wow. That's because you let your body know you don't need to be in that sympathetic fight or flight response. Now we move to the second, where we activate the parasympathetic nervous system. We're just going to take 4 breaths, a certain kind of breath, in through the nose and out through your mouth. That's breath 1. What you're doing is you're replacing the fight or flight cortisol and moving it through your bloodstream, and you're putting in serotonin and dopamine, and it's kind of washing your system. Now take the second breath into the nose, out through the mouth. Wow, I feel so much better. 2 more just like that. Maybe a little deeper. And then breath 4. And you'll notice your blood pressure coming down, your body's calming down. And then the last one is connect. And what connect is soul, spirit, whatever you want to call that. Just connect to the present moment. Just be in the present moment. And just feel yourself sitting if you're sitting, standing if you're standing. Touch something, you can rub your hands together. I like to do that. Just connect to the present moment. Just feel yourself move into the present moment. And now all of a sudden that fear is not so big anymore. And what you just did is you cleared the fear out of your system. It's just energy. You cleared the fear out of your system. And now you're like, okay, I know I have a not good enough issue. What can I do about it? How can I resolve that? It's easier now to face that fear because you've gotten the chemicals out of your body that fear creates, that's keeping you and wanting you to go back into the comfort zone. So that's how that works. The last thing I would say is in the model that we created, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a minute. It's just 4 steps. For pure confidence. One is just commit to evolve yourself. That's all I did in 2002 when I started on this journey. I just said, you know what? I'm never going to let fear hold me back again, ever. And I'm going for it. And I'm going to evolve. I'm going to figure out what I need to learn. I'm going to learn new things. And I'm going to become fearless over time. And that's what happened. And then second is own your stuff. Whenever something's not working, there's a very good chance you're in the way. And so just own it. Just like for me, it's like, oh, I've got a self-worth issue. I created this. This thing didn't work the way that I want. I'm owning it. I'm owning my part of it. And then third is just release it, right? So do the ABCs, figure out what it is you need to release and just release it. And then lastly is learn how to elevate your energy and how to move yourself into a high state of performance. By the way, there's a December event in which we tackle that related to prosperity and abundance. And we tackle that. How do you elevate your energy? So 4 steps: commit to evolve, like make a decision today, declare, I am not going to be held back by fear anymore. Own it, figure out which of those barriers are yours. And you can get the recording and take a screenshot and circle the one that's yours and just own it. And then through those ABCs and other things that you would learn, just tackle it and just learn how to release it. It doesn't need to hold you back. Of those 14 barriers, I probably had 12 of them at some point. I probably am still working 3 or 4 of them, but I'm committed to eliminating them from my life and constantly elevating my energy. And then use this tool. This is powerful. Recognize anytime that you feel afraid, you're going to want to go back to the comfort zone unless you train yourself to do something different. And if you can just recognize that you feel afraid, do those ABCs, and then identify what you need to learn in order to move forward, you'll be in a much better state. And so use that tool. That is powerful. Now I'm going to end with one thing, and then I'll stop the recording and I'll take questions. My personal commitment as the founder of ShiftCo and the creator of Share on Purpose, my personal commitment is I was born to help conscious entrepreneurs grow their business. And I'm proud of the fact that as of July, almost 85% of our members had doubled their income since joining. I'm very proud of that. The Pure Confidence program that helps you tackle these things, we sell through Succeed on Purpose. It's $510 for the program plus coaching, just Pure Confidence. But if you join ShiftCo, you pay $235 a month. Not only will you learn how to grow your business, but you'll get the Pure Confidence program for free. And if you join by November 30th, it actually starts in December. So if you want to grow your business and have these kind of results, you're going to get Pure Confidence. It's a 6-series program. It's super powerful. We will tackle that barrier. We will eliminate that barrier. And that's how we roll. And one of the reasons why almost 85% of our members have doubled their income is because we work on fear and mindset and barriers and confidence. We work on that in addition to learning how to generate demand and learning differentiation. So if you're ready to grow, I encourage you to join us, because if you join by November 30th, you're going to get the Pure Confidence program for free, which alone is $510. And I would love to have you be part of our community and to help you grow. And it's a powerful program. And we brought it into ShiftCo as part of the ShiftCo membership from Succeed on Purpose, because we want to get these kinds of results. So for those of you listening in on the recording, same offer applies to you. If you join by November 30th, you get Pure Confidence plus other stuff. And you're going to get coaching, mentoring to help you grow your business. The Pure Confidence is like the cherry on top. For those of you that are on right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to take your questions, and we'll go back and forth between the slides that I shared with you today and answer any questions that you have. So let me just stop the recording.